The train rhythmically clicked away, accompanying the tune of a song outside the train window. Rural landscapes alternated with pictures of wild nature. All of this filled the soul with a melancholic mood, even lulling the young woman. Couldn't believe that the worst was behind her just yesterday. She was desperate, feeling like a trapped tiger. By sheer chance, she managed to escape the trap of circumstances, and even more fantastically, she and her son boarded a fast train. Though the danger had passed, Lucy's emotions were heightened, and she felt the door behind her open quietly. The pleasant-looking conductor silently entered the compartment. "The little one is sleeping. I'm afraid to wake him," the woman smiled, nodding towards the lower bunk where 3-year-old Arnold was sweetly dozing into a pillow. "Would you like me to bring you some tea?" The kindness of the carriage hostess touched the young mother, and she smiled back. "I'd gladly have a revitalizing drink. I feel like dozing off." The rhythmic sounds seemed to soothe the nervous system, making people want to sleep. Even scientists got interested in this phenomenon, but it turns out it's simple. Rhythmic sounds relieve tension, making people sleepy. Sometimes even I struggle with drowsiness, especially in the morning. "How long have you been working on the railway?" Lucy inquired. The conductor proudly replied, "Oh, it's been almost 30 years since I've been rolling along these tracks. My whole family is in the railway business. My father was a steam locomotive engineer, and now my husband and eldest son operate the most modern machines. It's like being in an airplane, dozens of buttons, and you need to know how to handle it all." The talkative conductor suddenly realized, "Oh, excuse me. I've been chattering away, and the tea is getting cold. Let me bring it to you." "Of course, please do, and bring something to accompany the tea as well." "Great. We got some fresh pastries yesterday. Cupcakes, cookies, rolls. A couple of cupcakes would be perfect. My little one loves them." The conductor went to fulfill the order, and Lucy gazed out of the window again. However, the fleeting natural beauties no longer inspired the passenger of the fast train. She shifted her gaze to her sleeping son, gently adjusting the blanket. Tenderness and love overflowed the heart of the young mother. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Lord. It's hard to imagine that these people could have taken Arnold away from me." Recent events once again instilled worry in Lucy's heart. What if they find me, and who will help me then? She had asked herself this question many times, even before yesterday's battle from which she emerged victorious. But without the help of her husband's best friend, Dylan, it's unclear how the month-long standoff between the young mother and the missing husband's relatives would have ended. Lucy sighed heavily, recalling the folk wisdom, "If you knew where you would fall, you would spread straw." Lucy couldn't have imagined a year ago that she would be thrown overboard from a happy life by the twists of fate. Yet, everything was as described in novels and portrayed in movies. She, a girl from a working-class family, had managed to reach fairy tale heights without outside help. In early childhood, Lucy amazed her relatives with her intellectual abilities. At 3, she could already read syllables, and at 4, she could perform simple arithmetic operations effortlessly. Neighbors enthusiastically spoke of the little girl's talents. "Our Lucy is a real prodigy." Certainly, her parents were proud of their little daughter but didn't want to showcase her for any privileges. Once, they were invited to participate in a popular TV show, but Lucy's father flatly refused, saying, "Our girl is not an object to be shown. Children need normal conditions for development, and all these shows only harm them." Although Lucy's father worked as an assembly worker in a large factory, he had a good understanding of psychology. The girl's mother always listened to his advice regarding the upbringing of their only daughter. Oliver believed that publicity was harmful to the psyche of young children and did everything to protect his daughter from increased attention. Until a certain point, he succeeded. But when Lucy entered school, her father could no longer prevent the teachers from showcasing the little intellect's abilities. Over the years of schooling, Lucy participated in various competitions and Olympiads, repeatedly defending the honor of her school on international stages. Numerous diplomas still adorning the walls of her room in her parents' apartment testified to the achievements of the young adept. and it seemed that Lucy's future was predetermined by destiny. Indeed, after graduating brilliantly from school, the girl easily entered a highly prestigious university. There, her abilities also caused open amazement among the faculty, and Lucy was predicted a fairy tale career in the field of science. However, on the third year, the situation changed dramatically, and the cause of these global changes was love. In her youth, Lucy was captivated by classic love stories, but she never thought she would become a victim of this great feeling. When she accidentally saw Clark at a college party, it seemed like the ground was slipping from under her feet. The young man also immediately noticed the beautiful brunette with blue eyes. It was love at first sight. The strong feeling stunned both the guy and the girl. A few dates were enough for the young couple to realize how much they needed each other. But a harsh trial awaited the lovers. Clark, in a short time, had to go to Europe for an internship. The young people faced 2 years of separation. Understandably, such a prospect did not suit the in-loved couple. So, Clark and Lucy formalized their relationship the day before the groom's departure. Only Laura and Dylan, the best friends of the newlyweds, attended the ceremony. Lucy's parents took the news of their daughter getting married relatively calmly. Only Oliver took a promise from the girl that she would continue her education. A completely different picture unfolded in Clark's parents' house. His father was among the wealthiest people, and his mother, the director of a prestigious university, had numerous merits. Henry Alfredi, without mincing words, began to describe his son's choice. "Clark, where are your eyes? Whom did you choose as a wife? This simple girl from a working-class family does not fit your status as a successful programmer. What were you thinking when you went to the registry office with this girl? As a man, I understand you because your chosen one has an attractive appearance, but that's not enough for a life together." While Clark was choosing words to respond to his father's cruel criticism, Lucy herself came to her defense. "Of course, I respect your opinion since you are my husband's father, but I would like to know, in your opinion, what is needed for a life together? Until today, I believe that mutual love is the most important." Unexpectedly, Clark's mother, Teresa Albertov, intervened in the dispute. "Don't put your finger in this girl's mouth, she'll definitely bite it off. What's your name, dear?" Without hesitation, Lucy replied, if in full, then Lucinda Smith. Teresa wrinkled her nose in disgust. "Oh, how primitive, even the names give off a rustic spirit." But the girl countered skillfully, "But not everyone can be noble hunters for other people's millions, someone has to simply love." Clark's mother correctly interpreted this ambiguous hint from the newlywed bride. It was noticeable that this youthful and taut lady was at least 20 years younger than her husband. She smirked suggestively, uttering through her teeth, "I'm sure you won't be bored with her." The warning about not supporting the disobedient offspring with money for the future did not seem to affect Clark. The millionaire continued to express his discontent for a long time, using very explicit language regarding hasty marriages. But his son and future daughter-in-law paid no attention. Although for the sake of decency, they pretended that the ancestors' words fell on fertile ground. In conclusion of his farewell speech, the millionaire declared that he had no intention of financially supporting the disobedient heir any longer. But this warning only elicited laughter from Clark. "Father, you probably forgot that I haven't asked you for even pocket money for about 10 years now. Now I am self-sufficient, financially secure, but I will always help you if the need arises." It was evident that Clark's parents were at a loss. They didn't know which levers to press to put their offspring on the right path. Clark came to their rescue once again. "Mom, Dad, I love and respect you very much, but I've been an adult for a long time and want to manage my own life. I love, pardon the tautology, Lucinda, and intend to spend the rest of my life with her. Even if my choice does not suit you, I kindly ask you to respect my wife. If it's difficult for you, at least pretend." Unyielding parents had no choice but to pretend that they had accepted the bride into the family. However, even a casual observer could have noticed that their attitude toward their son's wife was, to put it mildly, not kind. However, the happy newlyweds did not think about it. They enthusiastically prepared for their journey. The parents of the newlyweds, realizing the true situation, silently accompanied their children to the departure lounge. But the millionaire couple did not find it necessary to reach out to the relatives of the simple girl. After the departure of the children, they too did not maintain contact as etiquette would suggest. 2 years passed like a single moment. Clark underwent an internship, and 2 years passed. His young wife studied the history of European capitals. During this time, she had the opportunity to visit Rome, Athens, and Paris. Previously, she could not even imagine in the most fantastic dream that she could see monuments of ancient architecture and touch history firsthand. Of course, the new life filled all her thoughts, so Lucinda did not want to think about studying. After the first academic break, the girl had to extend it for another year, and then Arnold was born, and she no longer planned to return to the university auditorium in the near future. Sometimes in the evenings, she still lamented about it. "Clark, your father is right on all counts. You're a successful businessman, a sought-after programmer, and I'm an underachiever. What will I do if I'm left alone? You won't be alone because I'll always be there. But what if you fall in love with another woman?" Clark playfully threw a pillow at his wife. "This is a provocation I won't respond to." Lucinda sent the pillow back in the opposite direction and was very pleased that the soft object hit her husband's head directly. "Hooray! I hit the target, so you have to answer my questions." The man looked closely into the girl's bottomless eyes. "I don't like this conversation, darling. Have I ever given you reason to doubt my integrity? I have you and Arnold, and above all, I value the opportunity to be with you." This confession was so sincere that Lucinda dismissed all doubts. She forever remembered this cozy evening, also because it became the last in their life together. The next day, Clark went to the Alps with friends, and Lucinda never saw her husband again. 3 days later, she was informed that an avalanche had been reported on the route the group of mountaineers was taking. No one from the missing could be contacted. Left alone in a foreign country with a little child in her arms, Lucinda didn't know what to do. Unexpectedly, Henry flew in with her grandson. The tragedy seemed not to have affected this gray-haired man. He calmly but confidently told his future daughter-in-law, "Get ready, you'll live with us, and we'll see how it goes. But, Henry Alfredi, the search is still ongoing. I want to wait for the result. I believe Clark is alive. He can't just disappear like that." For the first time, her husband's father looked at the bride with pity. "Naive. Do you think I sat idle all these days?" Suddenly, tears appeared in the eyes of this strong man. He sat down next to the girl, gently hugged her shoulders. "There's no chance of finding them. You understand everything yourself, alive. Even if someone survived the cold in the mountains, why should I explain it to you? You understand everything yourself." In the first weeks after the tragedy, Lucinda lived as if in a fog. She automatically did the housework, went for walks with her son, but all her thoughts were somewhere up there in the mountains where the only man in the world she loved with all her heart remained. One day, a stranger in an expensive suit appeared in the house. "I'm a lawyer from the company where your missing husband worked. And what do you want from me?" Lucinda said nothing. "You see, Lucinda, since the missing person is not considered dead, you have no right to dispose of your husband's finances and securities. So, you want to tell me exactly the power of attorney that allowed you to use your husband's account has expired. Therefore, unfortunately, all his funds are now blocked." Teresa Albertov, as always, appeared at the most critical moment. "How are they blocked?" Why, the lawyer again began to explain the situation, referring to legal articles. Lucy's heart was pounding wildly. She tried to understand the essence of what was happening, but her mother-in-law added fuel to the fire. "So, dear, are you trying to say that my son's ex-wife is essentially a beggar?" The young woman looked surprised at her mother-in-law, Teresa Albertov. "How can you say that? And why are you surprised? You're not registered here. You don't have the means to support yourself either. What do you expect, dear? If you think that my husband and I will support you, you are deeply mistaken. I'll find a job where you have no education. What future can you provide for our grandson? So, you mean I'm not beating around the bush, dear? I've already filed a relevant statement with the guardianship authorities. My husband and I, that is, Henry Alfredi, intend to become guardians of Arnold. We can give the boy everything that a poor mother like you cannot provide. Lucinda couldn't remember how many minutes or hours she was in shock. Her little son brought her back to reality. He looked at his mother with excitement and kept repeating, "Mom, my tummy hurts. Mom, can we go for a walk?" Noticing that his mother didn't respond to his questions, the boy started to get fussed. "I want a drink, give me juice." The demands of the little one brought Lucinda back to reality, and she feverishly considered various options to solve the problem at hand. Clark's parents lived in a big city, so she even considered the possibility of staying here. She realized that she needed to leave urgently, but how to do it unnoticed when there are watchers everywhere? Suddenly, a rescue thought struck her. Lucinda rushed into the room. She opened her laptop and connected with Dylan via Skype. Clark's friend was aware of all the events. He had also tried to find out the fate of the missing climbers. In the spring, after listening to Lucinda, Dylan said, "Don't panic, and under no circumstances make any sudden moves. I'll contact you soon." Indeed, a few hours later, Dylan got in touch again. He briefly outlined the essence of the rescue plan. "Just don't say anything. I know Teresa well, and I'm sure that she's keeping an eye on you. I'm already in the city, but we won't do anything until morning. Tomorrow morning, you and Arnold will go for a walk. Make sure to take all the documents, nothing else, just the documents." Dylan disconnected, and Lucinda pondered his words for a long time. Closer to night, the mother-in-law unexpectedly appeared, trying to take her grandson with her, but the little one started crying and hitting his grandmother with his fists. Teresa Albertov remarked discontentedly, "Look at that, she already managed to turn the child against his own grandmother. But I'll teach him good manners." Leaving the room, the woman casually dropped, "Tomorrow, representatives from the guardianship authorities will come. Have you found a place to live?" Lucinda said nothing. Dylan came up with a whole operation. It was no coincidence that he worked in the internal affairs. Lucinda obediently followed all his instructions. At the appointed time, she took her son for a walk together with the child. She dived into the car salon, and half an hour later, they were sitting in a compartment of a fast train. Dylan took care of the secret travelers. Colorful boxes with food and toys adorned the shelves and table. The man handed the tickets and an envelope to the girl. "There's not much here, but it should be enough for now. When you reach your destination, be sure to inform. Don't worry, I'll go to the capital tomorrow, following you. I advise you not to answer unfamiliar numbers, and in general, understand that secrecy in your situation won't hurt. Oh, and one more important point, I understand that it's difficult alone with a child, but don't tell the parents anything for now. It would be better if they don't know about your escape from Clark's family nest." He paused for a few seconds, then added, "You know, for some reason, I'm sure Clark is alive. Circumstances just don't allow him to let us know where he is and what's happening with him." Lucinda was touched by her husband's friend's care and attention. "Dylan, thank you, you're a true friend." The train had already gained speed when Dylan jumped out of the carriage. Lucy didn't have to look for a place for long. Her cousin Katniss lived in the Moscow region. They were close friends during school years, but then marriage led the girls in different directions. Lucinda dialed the familiar number and almost immediately heard her cousin's announcer-like voice, "Lucinda, is it really you? What's going on?" The young woman briefly described her misadventures. Katniss exclaimed loudly and then decisively said, "Yes, why are you confusing me? Take a taxi and come. I'm temporarily living alone." "And where is your husband, Michael?" "I think you don't know my husbands. Well, and I used to be considered a wanderer. The last one was called John. Damn him, he disappeared just like the previous one. I'm not lucky, little sister. Anyway, come quickly. I have French wine reserved for such occasions. We'll talk about fate, about life." Surprisingly, the issue of her employment was quickly resolved. Katniss arranged everything literally in one day. She made a few calls and then said, "Get ready, we're going to an audition." Katniss, what audition? Well, as they say now, for janitoring. Of course, the job is SOSO, but it will do for the time being. There's a small company nearby, and they urgently need a janitor. Personnel don't stay there for long, but don't pay attention, just quietly do your job. We'll find something more decent for you later. Katniss, thank you. You can thank me later. Oh, I almost forgot the most important thing. There's a spot in the garden for Arnold. You have Moscow registration, right? Yes, I'm still listed at my parents' apartment. So, everything is perfect. Lucinda settled in quickly in her new place. The tired secretary quickly determined her scope of work and just in case warned her, "Don't you dare show up in the office with a fever, you will get an immediate dismissal." The new employee just smiled, "I don't smoke or drink either." Everyone says that on the first day, and on the second, they show up in an indecent state. But the predictions of the experienced secretary didn't come true. Lucinda was never late, and she performed her duties excellently. In just a few days, she organized the office, cleaned the windows, and arranged the furniture rationally. The colleagues appreciated the work of the new janitor. "It's unbelievable that this is our office. This girl is a real magician," the new boss remarked. The new boss also noticed her diligence. One day he invited her to his office. "For the first time in my life, I meet such a responsible janitor. May I ask where you worked before?" "I was studying, but after the birth of my son, I had to drop out of university." "Too bad, very unfortunate. If you had a diploma, I could have entrusted you with another job. This position suits me for now." Lucinda worked in the company for several months. The boss regularly invited her to his office. This mature man repeatedly dropped hints to the attractive girl that he wouldn't mind having a romance with her. But Lucinda pretended not to understand anything. But one day she had to turn to the boss with a request that depended on Arnold's health. As it often happens in life, the child unexpectedly fell ill, and Lucinda had to take sick leave for a whole week. She nursed the child, took him to various procedures, but the temperature continued to remain high. Concerned about the child's unpleasant condition, the doctor directed the child for examination. The verdict of the doctors shocked the mother. "The boy has a very weakened immune system, but it's a fixable matter. I will prescribe a wonderful medication for you. Give him 5 injections, and your boy's health will be like a hero's." "Okay, doctor, prescribe it." The doctor handed the anxious mother a prescription without warning about the cost of the medicine. When the pharmacist at the pharmacy mentioned the astronomical amount for a simple janitor, the woman's breath caught. She took the prescription, apologizing, "I'm sorry, I don't have that amount with me today." In the evening, she discussed the situation with Katniss. Her sister tried to reassure the distraught mother, "Yes, don't cry, we'll come up with something. Tomorrow I'll get my paycheck, and I'll give you half of the required amount. Ask the rest as an advance at work." "Can you do that?" "Why not? Everyone does it. You need money for something important, not just for trifles. Ask the boss, he should be accommodating." But Kat was wrong thinking that Lucinda's boss had a human heart in his chest. She first asked for an advance from the accounting department, but they immediately directed her to the boss, sensing trouble. The girl timidly knocked on the door. The manager greeted her warmly. "What's the problem? Tell me." Lucinda briefly described her difficult situation. The boss listened attentively, then approached the girl so closely that she felt his warm breath on her cheek. "If you be a good girl, we'll definitely come to an agreement." Lucinda tried to distance herself from the man, but he pulled her towards him and greedily kissed her lips. Unexpectedly for herself, the girl forcefully pushed the intruder away and struck him on the oily cheek. A crimson spot instantly appeared where she had hit. The boss howled and spun on the spot. "Oh, you scoundrel! I'll teach you how to ask for help." The man rushed to the door, abruptly swinging it open. "Get out of here." "No, wait. All the office employees gathered at the cries of the boss. Even the drivers didn't hesitate to climb to the second floor to see how the boss was giving out treats. Seeing the audience, the manager became even more animated. Look and remember. Anyone who thinks they can do anything will be kicked out of the company. See, this lady imagined herself something. A simple janitor dares to contradict me. Give her the advance. Her child is sick. Apologize, Rich. Maybe then I'll pity you and give you the advance. Lucinda didn't move from her spot. The experienced staff observed the bent bruise on the boss's cheek. Everyone understood the nature of this little spot. The calmness of the janitor only further upset the boss. But he didn't start this show for nothing. Look and remember. Everyone who thinks they can do anything will be kicked out of the company. This lady imagined herself something. A simple janitor dares to contradict me. Give her the advance. Her child is sick. Apologize, Rich. Maybe then I'll pity you and give you the advance. Lucinda interrupted the boss's vivid speech. Before this, you demanded that I kiss your feet, and there in the office, you touched me and tried to get under my skirt. With such goats like you, a self-respecting person will not talk. And I don't need your advance. Lucinda demonstratively threw the mop right onto the boss's expensive Italian shoes. The office employees barely held back their admiring exclamations. Someone in the last row loudly said, "Well done, girl." How she put him in his place. Lucinda decisively headed for the exit. She didn't know where to get the missing amount, but she was satisfied with her actions. She hurried home to tell Katniss about what happened, but suddenly her phone rang. Lucinda, Clark is alive. I told you he's alive. 2 people from the team died, but the rest managed to survive. Clark was in a coma for a long time, so local doctors didn't know who he was or where he came from. Dylan, I don't even know what to do. You can't imagine how happy I am. Well, complete happiness is still a bit far. Your husband is still undergoing rehabilitation in the best Austrian clinic, but he will return home very soon. Please give me your current address. Clark called her later that evening. She cried upon hearing his voice and couldn't start talking for a long time. He waited until Lucinda calmed down a bit and then said, "I'm glad to hear you. Dylan told me that you left." Why? Arnold is not too young for such trips. Clark, I had no choice. What do you mean, no choice? Is there something I don't know? Your mother decided to take Arnold away from me. All your accounts were blocked, and she decided to throw me out of the house. She said that our son doesn't need such a mother. Dylan helped us on the day when the guardianship was supposed to come. Arnold and I ran away. There was silence on the line, and then Clark spoke. I don't understand anything. How could Mom go for this? Endure, darling. I'll come to you soon, and in the meantime, I'll tell my manager to transfer money to you. Yes, very Tim, leave. Arnold got sick. Is it something serious? Clark's voice trembled. He missed Lucy a lot, but even more, he missed his son. No, everything is fixable. At that moment, Arnold rushed into the room. Mom, go tell Dad how much you love him. Arnold grabbed the phone and started. At that moment, Arnold rushed in, telling Clark something. Lucinda had to almost forcibly take the phone from him. After 5 minutes, well, did you get a dose of information? She asked her husband. Clark immediately replied, Lucinda, you can't imagine how much I love you both. After the conversation, Clark even felt better. In 3 days, he would be transferred back home, and a week later, he would be able to go to Lucy. Clark's head was in complete chaos. What if things hadn't ended so well for him? And what then? Would his mother really take Arnold from Lucy, and would she throw Lucy out of their son's life? Something told Clark that it would have been like that. When he was brought to the clinic in his homeland, his mother almost immediately entered the ward. She cried, sobbed, but Clark remained silent. When Teresa calmed down a bit, Clark asked the main question, Mom, where is Lucinda and Arnold? The woman hesitated a little and then said, that ungrateful girl went somewhere and took the grandson with her. What could she give him? She had all the conditions for living, but she spat on everything. Clark frowned. His mother, as always, was never at fault. "Mom, is it true that you wanted to take Arnold from her? Is it true that you wanted to kick her out?" Later, the woman blushed. "So, she's already spread gossip about me, huh? Answer me, Mom. We didn't know you were alive. What could she give him? Uneducated, unable to behave, poor. But why poor? If they hadn't found me, then my money would have gone to her, on what grounds? So that she could waste them for nothing, and Arnold would be left without a penny. So you think you did the right thing?" Of course, Teresa stubbornly pursed her lips. Clark was silent for a while and then said, "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, Clark. Don't come to me anymore." And he turned to the wall. Teresa stared at him for a while, then grabbed her bag and rushed out of the ward. She almost knocked down the doctor who was entering Clark's room. He looked at the lady with surprise. She didn't even think to apologize, shook his head, and pushed the door. "Clark, I have good news for you. All the tests are like that of an astronaut. I'll be able to discharge you tomorrow, 2 days earlier than planned." Clark looked at his watch. "In an hour and a half, the train to Lucinda." "Doctor, can you do it today?" "Well, so that no one knows?" The doctor looked at him bewilderedly. "Well, probably yes," Clark was. The doctor looked at him, already calling somewhere, ordering a ticket, asking to urgently deliver clothes and gifts for his son to the train. Lucinda was squatting in the sandbox near her cousin's house, helping Arnold build a road. They laughed merrily when another built-in sand hill collapsed under Arnold's toy car wheels. Lucinda didn't even notice someone watching them, and when Clark, who approached them, almost cried looking at this scene. "Son, one more ride and we'll go home, it's already late." "No, Arnold, if you behave badly, I'll tell everything to Dad." "Is he coming soon?" "Soon, son, very soon." Lucinda hugged her son to herself. Even sooner than you think, she turned in amazement at the voice, saw her husband, and with a cry rushed to him. The next second, both of them were hanging on him. Clark hugged Lucinda, pressed his son to himself, and tears flowed from his eyes. "How much I missed you." When Lucinda and Clark entered the office where the girl had worked as a cleaner for several months, the staff watched the guests with interest. The secretary didn't recognize the former cleaner and the elegantly dressed lady. "What is your business?" Clark winked at his wife. "Personal. The boss is waiting for us." "What is your business?" Without waiting for the secretary's approval, Clark opened the boss's office door. The little man jumped in his chair from surprise. "Why, without warning? Don't you know that you need to make an appointment with respected people, not just bursting like that?" Clark confidently walked straight to the desk of an important person. "I got used to it without warning, especially since from this day on, I run this company." Lucinda's former boss deflated like a balloon. Something told him that this person wouldn't joke. "How should I understand you, literally? I bought this company. But I don't need you. But I'm a kind person and can leave you here if you..." Clark held the pause for a long time, and then looked directly into the eyes of this insignificant person. "I agree. What is required of me?" "A little kiss my wife's feet." The man even gasped at such an offer. He had to look at Lucinda, and only now did the humiliated boss recognize his former cleaner and the chic lady. Lucinda felt very sorry for this little man, but she understood that there was nothing to pity him for. "I will be satisfied if you apologize." The employees once again observed an interesting scene when the arrogant official apologized to the offended woman. He stammered, blushed, and sweated. Clark, sitting in his chair, waited for the end of the speech and continued. "For humiliating my wife, you have apologized. Now what's on the agenda? Is that you harassed her? Oh yes, almost forgot. You didn't even give money for medicines for our son, although she didn't ask you to give them as a gift but asked to buy them with her own salary." The former boss completely deflated. You know, I changed my mind. I'll give this company to my wife and we'll transfer you to cleaning. Let her manage you, maybe she can turn you into a human being." The company's employees smiled, showing each other thumbs up. Served him right. Everyone had had enough. Well, and now justice has triumphed. Thank you for joining us today on Deep Stories. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video.